we are going to focus on consumers. Our three key learning objectives for today are: the first one, we are going to discover ArbaWine as a local wine producer in Kazakhstan. Second, we are going to understand the consumer profiles and behavior in the Kazakh market. And third, we are going to explore the emerging opportunities and consumer perceptions of Italian wines in Kazakhstan. So let's dive in.
Welcome to Asia Wine Market Almaty Special Edition with me, your host, Roza. In this special series, we're exploring the growing wine culture of Kazakhstan, with Almaty at the heart of it all. Each episode will meet with Italian wine professionals, importers, soms, and producers who are shaping the future of wine in Central Asia. Whether you're a winery looking to expand into new markets or a local expert curious about the market dynamics, you are in the right place.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Asia Wine Market Almaty Special Edition. And today I'm excited to welcome Asem Tusupbayeva. She is a wine columnist, independent PR consultant, and producer of wine events. She also has a hands-on experience at ArbaWine, one of the country's pioneering wine producers. She's been actively involved in shaping how wine is presented, understood, and enjoyed, both within the industry and as a passionate consumer. She also organizes and hosts consumer-facing tastings, and that is why our conversation today will be focused on consumers, their preferences and perceptions. So welcome, Asem. We're very happy to have you here today.
Hello, everyone. Sending warm greetings from Kazakhstan. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
And we are very happy to have you here today. So to begin, could you please share a bit about your background and how your journey in wine started? I personally know that it's a very inspiring career shift. So could you share it?
I try to focus on the key highlights. So for the first 10 years of my career, I worked in finance. But for the past 10 years, I've been fully immersed in the world of wine. All began quite naturally. I started attending tastings and quickly became fascinated by everything about wine, the culture, the stories, the people. And my passion led me to ArbaWine, Kazakhstani winery that was just launching at the time. I was fortunate to join team early and play a role in building and promoting the brand from the ground up. Now I'm an independent consultant on media planning and events producer. I also write wine related news and articles for various media. Additionally, organize and host wine tastings. And most recently, I was honored to be elected head of marketing department at the Kazakhstan Sommelier Association.
Oh, yes. By the way, I forgot to mention that Asem was elected as the head of marketing department, as she mentioned, the marketing department of Kazakhstan Sommelier Association. And I think all of us in the association were very happy to have you.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story. For me personally, it's always insightful to hear how professionals find their path into wine. So, for today, as I already mentioned, we are going to focus on consumers, their preferences and perceptions in wine. Our three key learning objectives for today are: the first one, we are going to discover ArbaWine as a local wine producer in Kazakhstan. Second, we are going to understand the consumer profiles and behavior in the Kazakh market. And third, we are going to explore the emerging opportunities and consumer perceptions of Italian wines in Kazakhstan. So let's dive in. To begin our conversation, first of all, let's take a closer look at ArbaWine, the wine producer who you've been working for several years. How did the winery come to life, and what do you think made it stand out? Because it's one of the most successful producers in our market. What do you think made them stand out? I think our listeners will be surprised to hear that Kazakhstan produces very decent wines. So that's why I think it's going to be an interesting story to hear.
Yes, thank you for the question. When visiting Kazakhstan, tasting local wines is a must. In my opinion, ArbaWine is a perfect introduction. Every winemaker will tell you this secret of the great wine isn't technology, it's in the grapes. And when it comes to the grapes, ArbaWine is truly fortunate. All key natural factors are given them by nature. For example, the vineyards are located at altitude 1,000 meters above sea level. You understand how it influences acidity, ripening of the grapes. If we are talking about the geographical location, the vineyards near Almaty city. Almaty is one of the large cities in Kazakhstan with a population 2 million people, and it is located at the southeast of our country. So vineyards are also here. And the soil is alluvial, rich with the stones. It's sandy and clay. And I think one of the most unique aspects of our region is extremely cold winter. Imagine temperature in winter time can drop as low as minus 30, minus 35. These extreme cold conditions mean that typical vine pests, including phylloxera, simply can't survive here. So, combine it with areas geographical isolation, soil composition, and these extremely cold winters allow it to grow own rooted vines. So here in Kazakhstan, we have ungrafted root vines, and many of the vineyards are 45, 50 years old, and it's planted during the Soviet era. You know, Kazakhstan, former one of the 15 USSR republics. At that time, when it was USSR, the focus was on quantity over quality. So winemaking as a craft wasn't prioritized. And in the mid of 1980s, the vineyards were largely destroyed during Gorbachev's anti-alcoholic campaign and left abandoned for the decades. And ArbaWine, for the last 20 years, has been working to restore them with the great results. They have amazing story of restoring old vineyards, and today they have about 15 grape varieties like Riesling, Pinot Noir, Georgian grapes like Rukatsteli and Sapiravi, and international grape varieties Cabernet Franc, Syrah, Chardonnay, and so on.
Any chance you've got some Italian native varieties there?
I don't know. I don't have any information about this.
Okay, that's truly a very fascinating story, and I think it's really something interesting how these vineyards were abandoned for decades. And then also the fact that here we have ungrafted vines.
Which is a rare story for the wine world. Mhm.
Yeah, that's a very fascinating story to share, I think. And also, again, Kazakhstan is not considered as typically wine producing country. For many wine professionals, wine enthusiasts, it will be very interesting to know.
Hope so.
Okay, now looking back to the market side, could you share with us what were some of the key challenges in introducing Kazakh wine to local consumers? And how did their perception change over time?
In the beginning, it was quite challenging. Local wine had a reputation for being low quality, poor quality, and in our region, wines had never been made using European tradition or modern winemaking knowledge. So, changing that perception took time. To build trust, we organized regular tours for the winery to show how the things were done, modern equipment, European standards. We also hosted many tastings, especially blind tastings, which helped people to appreciate the quality. Today, the local wine industry is much stronger position and continue to grow. You know, in our market, sales of local wine are twice as high as imported wine. Most of these wines like poor quality, really poor quality wines, like bulk wine. But we have several high quality wineries in our country.
And I know that Arba Wine also organizes the harvest festivals quite frequently. I'm not sure if it's twice or three times a year. Could you tell us more about this? How does this event help approach the consumers?
Yes, it was like a big PR campaign. So we in Arba Wine had big, huge festivals that gathered together about 2,000 people in the end of August. So we have them from 2015, about 10 years every year. It's like a music festival, grape festival, and the people from all Kazakhstan come here and enjoy the wines at the nature. We are try to give them our values through the nature and of course enjoyable time for knowing this brand more and better.
And that is actually very important, not just to the winery, to ArbaWine itself, but also to the wine scene in our country in general. Like, we have to look at the bigger picture. The fact that you organize this festival also helps imported wines to sell better because you're educating consumers about wine in general, not just about wines from ArbaWine.
Sure, it's influenced all wine culture in our country.
Yeah, that's true. And I know that ArbaWine has worked with some international experts over the years. Can you tell us more about that, just briefly? Also, I'm very interested if some Italian consultants or enologists influenced your winemaking direction too.
Kazakhstan isn't widely known as a winemaking country, so when Arba was founded, they invited experienced top consultants from Italy to help to build a solid foundation. Among them were Professor Mario Frigoni and enologist and scientist Donata Lanati, and their expertise had a great influence on the winery. For example, Mario Frigoni, he noted that our area is classified as a mountain vineyards. And Donato Lanati and his team were also impressed by the results of molecular analysis of our grapes. And he concluded that this terroir is capable of producing high quality wines and that it should. Arba cooperated with this amazing professional for quite a long time. And today, founder of the company, Zainullah Kakimjanov, already makes wine himself. I mean, he's a winemaker. So we have great cooperation with Italian experts in Kazakhstan. They appreciate this fact.
For me, it's very exciting to know this cooperation between Italians and Kazakhs in wine. It went beyond just importing wines, but also they helped us create this winemaking direction and cultivate and produce wines here in Kazakhstan with their help. And could you please tell us if the wines are being sold only domestically or you're also selling wines for the export?
Yes, ArbaWine had export contracts with Great Britain, Japan, Sweden, China, and another countries. It's not like a lot of wine because winery is not very huge. Quantity of wine producing is not very high, but some restaurants, high-end restaurants, and some shops they are interested in local wines, especially in Arba wines, and we had some contracts with foreign partners.
Okay, thank you. That's a great snapshot of how local wine is growing. And now let's turn our focus to the people who are drinking wine in our country. From your experience, both at Arba Wine and also working with local wine professionals and also organizing the events, who are the key groups driving wine consumption in Kazakhstan? Can you share any patterns in terms of age or gender or maybe even profession?
In terms of age, the main wine buyers now are millennials and their parents' generation, Generation X. Millennials switched to the wine from the beer about 10 years ago. For example, one of them was me. And now they prefer a bottle of dry or semi-dry wine, often white. Very often they prefer prosecco or sparkling wine producing classical method. For example, Spanish cava very popular in Kazakhstan. And they pay attention to the price and quality ratio, that the price is average. Sometimes they can spend money on a bottle of more expensive wine. As for Generation X, they often prefer red wines, semi dry or powerful with tannins. and they like sparkling wines as tea style. They are not ready to pay a lot for wine. And also, I checked with my partner, Monte Bianco company, who always support me with the wine and provide me allocation for my wine tasting. And they told me that the top three regions are Veneto, thanks to Prosecco and Pinot Grigio, Puglia, thanks to Primitivo wine, and Friuli white Pinot Grigio and Sauvignon. In general, Primitivo is popular among different generations. And Zoomers don't drink alcohol. I hear that you are discussed it in another podcast before. And among both generations, there are those who have traveled a lot, tasted, and they usually buy wines like Barolo and Amarone. But I don't know, maybe 10 or 15% of the wine consumers.
Hmm. So 10 or 15% of wine consumers, those who traveled abroad, coming back to Kazakhstan, they also buy Barolo, Barbaresco, Amarone.
Yeah, who have possibility to pay more to buy expensive labels. I think they
Hmm.
are like about 10 or 15%.
Hmm. So you heard our conversation with Ratmir, right?
Yeah, right. It's true. Maybe it depends on, I don't know, cultural some things, or maybe to healthy lifestyle, but they have another things to appreciate.
Some other types of beverages.
Yeah.
And through your experience with ArbaWine and also organizing this harvest festival,
Hmm.
I actually thought that many young people, much younger than me, they used to go a lot to this kind of festivals because it's not just about wine, but it's also about music, about gathering with people, going to the nature, this kind of vibe.
It's true. It's all about gathering people together, about good time, good vibes, have an amazing time with the friends, and they come to the wine festivals, and it's true.
Yeah, so younger generation Gen Z, they're not ready just to buy wine, but they could buy wine if we sell them wine in a different way a little bit through gatherings, through different events, through creating this vibe.
Yeah, right. I think maybe in 7 or 10 years they will be wine consumers. Depends on the work that we will do today.
But it's true, actually. For example, when I was 20 years old studying my bachelor's degree, I also didn't drink wine. I didn't know a thing about wine. For me, it was just red and white. That's it. I used to drink beer and cocktails, and then I just switched to wine. So maybe that is also something that they will come in several years.
Yeah, it's true. Personally, it's my story also because until my 30, I always drink only beer. And from 30 years old, I drink only wine.
And you've been also actively involved in the wine tastings and wine events, both as a guest and also the organizer of events. One of them is wine bar hopping formats, which you did in Almaty. Who tends to show up at these gatherings? So, what kind of people are engaging with wine through this kind of experiences in terms of age, background, maybe their motivation?
Most often, there are people aged 30 to 50, active, successful in their career or business, traveling people. I can share one interesting fact with you. Most of our tastings are attended by women. Sometimes up to 90% of the guests are women. Men are less interested, but if they come, usually come with their spouse. But if you look at who buys wine in the stores, more often, that as a rule, it's a man. So people aged 30 to 50 take wine courses. They are interested in trying different things, going to the bar hopping, to the wine tasting, master classes, so on.
That is also interesting to know. I can say from my experience in China, I think it's also the case. Well, companies, if we are talking about B2B clients, most of them they're men. But if we are talking about some private customers, consumer facing events, and most of the people who came were women, the majority, like more than half. That's an interesting fact.
Same in Kazakhstan.
I also wanted to discuss with you one interesting topic. Probably you also heard my conversation with Ratmir about Kazakhstan being religious. So
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
had a look at some information. So, according to the 2021 national census published by the Bureau of National Statistics of Kazakhstan, around 69% of the population identifies as Muslim, while 17% are Christian and less than 0.1% follow Buddhism and Judaism. So, how do you think, in a country with such a diverse and predominantly Muslim population, how do religious and cultural values influence attitudes toward wine consumption? Does this shape how people engage with wine socially and professionally? Does it have a big influence on wine consumption?
Yes, indeed, Islam is the most widespread religion in Kazakhstan. Muslims make up 70% of the population. That's probably why there's been a growing demand for non alcoholic wine lately. At the same time, it's important that Kazakhstan is a secular state. The country is not Islamic. And according to the law, we are allowed to buy alcohol from the age of 21. And in bars, restaurants, cafes, alcohol can be ordered around the clock. And we have only time restrictions for the supermarkets. And you cannot drink alcohol on the street or public places. I don't know, I couldn't say or describe how it influenced wine people or wine society because I'm not like close for the religion people. That's why there is no any expertise for this question.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for your answer. Could you please tell me, how do you think, what is the most intimidating thing when people approach wine in our country?
I think, like everywhere, the fear is the fear of not understanding something about wine. Terminology, fear of meeting a snob. And for these reasons, some people are even afraid to go into the wine shop. Imagine, they are afraid that the seller or cavist sommelier offers them something expensive. That's why when I do my bar hopping tours, usually we visit 3 bars in one meeting. Guests are often surprised by pleasant prices and a large selection of wines. I think that one of the challenges for our professional community is to work with these fears. That is mean we need to educate our consumers more and better.
And also probably educate ourselves
Yeah, sure.
to be grounded and be able to explain things using simple language, approachable language. Okay, let's go a little bit further into Italian wines. So, when it comes to Italian wines, what do you think helps them succeed in Kazakhstan? In your opinion, is it the story? Is it the price point? Is it the flavor? Or maybe the general picture of Italy that we have in our heads? What makes Italian wines successful on our market among the consumers?
First, I want to share with you important information that according to the reports from private marketing agencies last year in 2024, the leader of import was Italy in Kazakhstan. So Italians wines are like more than 24% of our market. If we go back to the 15 years ago, half market leaders was Georgia and Moldova. And now market leader is Italy. So after Italy followed Spain and New Zealand. Italian wines are popular because of history of winemaking, I think because of styles and the price range. There is amazing variety of grapes, styles, and you can find everything for your money, for example. Kazakhstanis love Italy very much, perhaps this is due to the fact that in both cultures, family is an important value. I think one of the important keys. And it's important to note that Italian cuisine is very popular in our country. Pasta, pizza, risotto, everything. For example, in Almaty, we have specialized more than 50 Italian restaurants. That's mean they are give to their guests Italian wines, of course, with their cuisine. So I think these are key facts why the Italian wines popular in Kazakhstan.
Okay, thank you. That is very promising to know for Italian wineries. It's almost time for us to wrap up the episode. But before doing that, let's end with a quick round of rapid fire questions, just for fun and some final insights. So, how do you think? What's one key thing Italian wineries should keep in mind when entering the Kazakh market?
In my opinion, consumers value the price to quality ratio, and the wines that are too expensive, they need a strong brand. The mid-range segment appears more promising, especially when emphasizing origin and the natural qualities of the product. And we have low demand for the rosé wines. Don't bet on rosé, but it's only my opinion. Better aromatic, bright white varieties or medium or full-bodied red wines. That is what our consumers prefer.
Oh, thank you. That is very practical advice. If you could introduce one new wine trend or grape variety to Kazakhstan, what would it be and why?
I think I would introduce the trend of low intervention wines, minimal influence in the winemaking process, because in Kazakhstan, more and more consumers are becoming conscious about composition, origin, the story about what they drink. They need to understand and to know. As for the grape variety, I would choose Nera de Avola. We have it in our market, but still unknown here, in my opinion. And it could be beautiful pair to the meat because we have a lot of meat in our cuisine. So sunny, rich, and not too heavy. Nera de Avola would be great pair, I think.
Okay. That's also a very practical, very good answer. Thanks a lot. Another question, which is not related to wine. If you weren't working in wine, what other profession or industry could you see yourself in?
Ah, sooner or later I would have come to wine anyway. That's my answer.
You had a dramatic career shift from banking to wine. So, yeah. Okay, thank you, Asem, a lot for sharing your insights and also expertise. It's been a real pleasure to get a deeper look into the Kazakh wine scene through your eyes and through your experience. How could our listeners connect with you?
They could connect to me via Instagram. Asem Kosem is my account page, so it's possible to connect me via email. I'm always open.
Okay, thank you a lot.
Thank you, Rosa, and your team for having me on your podcast again. Thank you. Hope our dialogue was useful for your listeners and interesting.
It will be useful. Thank you again, and ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Asia Wine Market Almaty Special Edition. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your pods. And if you are curious to discover more about the Central Asian wine scene, join us at the Vinitaly Kazakhstan Roadshow on July 7th. See you in the next episode. And until then, cheers from Almaty.